There is a certain kind of man who moves through the world without noise, no announcement, no expectation, no desperate search for validation. He observes life the way a careful reader studies a quiet page, slowly, intentionally, and with a sense of inner steadiness that is rare in modern times. This man is often misunderstood, not because he hides himself, but because he carries a form of intelligence that does not seek the spotlight. It rests within him like a still lake, calm on the surface, yet impossibly deep beneath. This is the intelligence of the Sigma male. To most people, intelligence is something loud. It is shown through debate, dominance, performance, or the need to be recognized. But Sigma intelligence is the opposite. It is quiet, analytical, internal, and profoundly grounded in awareness. And because it does not announce itself, it often unsettles those who can sense it. People are not intimidated by loud knowledge. They are intimidated by silent understanding. What makes the Sigma's intelligence so quietly terrifying is the way he processes the world around him. While others rush, he studies. While others react, he reflects. While others try to win arguments, he tries to understand patterns. This creates a presence that feels unpredictable even to those who know him well. You cannot manipulate a man who sees through the structure of your intentions. You cannot fool a man who notices the small shifts in behavior that most people overlook. You cannot dominate a man who does not seek dominance in the first place. The Sigma male's intelligence is unsettling because it reveals a different kind of strength, one that comes not from force, but from clarity. He understands people at their core. He sees motivations without them being spoken, and he navigates life with an independence that cannot be influenced by pressure, opinion, or social expectation. In a world built on noise, the quiet man becomes the most mysterious figure in the room. His mind moves at a different pace, slower, deeper, and far more precise. His thoughts mature in silence before they ever reach his lips. And when he finally chooses to speak, people feel it, because his words are born from long observation, not impulsive emotion. His presence alone often reveals truths others prefer to avoid. Today, we're going to explore why this rare form of intelligence is perceived as terrifying, not in a dramatic or aggressive sense, but in a psychological one. Terrifying because it is uncommon. Terrifying because it is unshakable. Terrifying because it is rooted in truth. Let's begin. Number one, his intelligence is rooted in observation, not performance. The Sigma's mind works through watching, not competing. He studies patterns, behaviors, reactions, and outcomes with the patience of someone who values accuracy over speed. He does not rush to prove something or to outperform anyone. Instead, he allows the world to reveal itself at its natural pace, understanding that truth becomes clearer when you stop trying to force it into shape. This is why his intelligence feels so different, because it is rooted in observation, not performance. While most people rely on outward achievement or loud displays of capability, the Sigma refines his understanding by quietly absorbing every detail of his environment. He sees what others overlook, the hesitation behind someone's smile, the tension carried in their voice, and the contradiction between their words and their actions. He processes all of this without judgment, storing patterns the way a strategist gathers information before making a single move. This is the source of his quiet power. People who rely on performance-based intelligence often feel uncertain around him because his insight is almost too natural. He does not need to show off or convince anyone of what he knows. His clarity speaks for itself. His presence has a way of exposing hidden truths, not through confrontation, but through simple awareness. When a person who thrives on being the smartest in the room encounters a Sigma, something interesting happens. They feel seen, not impressed. The Sigma's intelligence is ego-free, which makes it even more disarming. It doesn't try to dominate, yet it quietly reveals the limitations of those who do. This creates an unusual dynamic. The Sigma's calm understanding becomes a mirror, reflecting back people's intentions, insecurities, and motivations with uncomfortable accuracy. Others may not fully understand why they feel unsettled around him, but they sense that he perceives more than he expresses. And it's true, he does. The Sigma sees patterns long before they play out, notices shifts in energy before they become visible, and detects dishonesty even when wrapped in charm. His intelligence is not loud, but it is sharp, not aggressive, but penetrating, not competitive, but unquestionably effective. In a world where people try so hard to prove themselves, the Sigma simply understands. And that understanding is what makes his intelligence not only unique, but also quietly terrifying. Number 2, he remains emotionally unattached to social pressure. Most people adjust their thinking based on approval, criticism, or fear of being judged. The Sigma does not. His intelligence stays pure because it is not filtered through the need to impress. This emotional independence allows him to think clearly in situations where others become clouded. The truth is simple. Most minds are not truly thinking, they are performing. They adjust their opinions depending on who's watching. They soften their truth depending on who might disagree. And they trade their authenticity for acceptance. This means their thoughts are never fully theirs. They are shaped, edited, and diluted by external pressure. But the Sigma male walks a completely different internal path. His mind does not bend to the temperature of the room. He does not look around before thinking. He does not check the reactions of others before forming conclusions. His thoughts rise from within, untouched by the noise that governs most people. This is why his intelligence often feels so rare, so sharp, and so intimidating. It comes from a place of freedom, a place where clarity is not compromised by the fear of judgment. When a Sigma is in a conversation, he is not crafting statements to gain approval. He is scanning for truth. When conflict arises, he is not thinking about how to protect an image. He's thinking about what is real. And when decisions must be made, he does not collapse under social pressure. He filters everything through logic, experience, and principle. This gives him a psychological advantage that few people ever develop: the ability to think cleanly under stress. While others panic, he analyzes. While others get emotional, he becomes still. While others rush to fit in, he steps back to see the whole picture. This calm mental posture is often mistaken for coldness, but in reality, it is clarity. The Sigma is not detached because he doesn't care. He is detached so he can see clearly, and that clarity becomes his quiet power. In a world where most people's thinking is shaped by group approval, the Sigma's independence of mind becomes a form of high intelligence, one that is unbothered, unmanipulated, and deeply respected. His thoughts do not echo the crowd. They originate from the self, and that in a noisy world is terrifying. Number 3, he sees motivations instead of words. The Sigma male listens differently. He pays attention to tone, timing, hesitation, micro-expressions, and the small inconsistencies that most people overlook. He is not the kind of man who waits for his turn to speak. Instead, he observes the subtle shifts in a person's emotional landscape. When someone talks to him, he isn't distracted by the loudness of their words. He is focused on the quieter truths beneath them. He watches how their eyes move when they explain themselves. He notices the drop in vocal pitch when a lie slips through. He catches the forced smile meant to disguise discomfort, the unnecessary details added to make a story sound more believable, and the delayed response that signals internal conflict. His mind naturally pieces these fragments together, forming a clearer understanding of the person in front of him than they often have of themselves. And because this reading is instinctive, not forced, it makes him a mirror people can't easily hide from. Many individuals rely on social camouflage, charm, confidence, humor, or emotional theatrics to present a version of themselves that feels safe, palatable, or strategically constructed. But the Sigma male sees through that performance, not because he is trying to expose anyone, but because his quiet nature allows him to observe without being observed. His presence doesn't trigger the defensive ego that loud or dominant men often provoke. Instead, people speak freely around him, unaware of how much they're revealing. Over time, he begins to notice patterns, the contradictions between a person's words and their actions, the subtle tensions in their voice that betray insecurity, and the unspoken fears that sit behind their confident posture. And this ability can feel unsettling, especially to those who depend on their masks to navigate the world. They sense, sometimes without knowing why, that he can see through them. They feel exposed in his presence, even when he says nothing. The Sigma doesn't misuse this insight. He is not judgmental or manipulative. He simply prefers truth over pretense. By understanding what people truly mean, beneath their words, beneath their personas, he protects his peace, chooses his relationships wisely, and navigates social dynamics with a level of clarity that others rarely achieve. This is why his silence carries weight. This is why his perception feels intimidating. And this is why those who hide behind illusions often fear meeting a man who listens the way a Sigma male does. Number 4, he learns quickly and silently. Sigma intelligence is not loud or competitive. It is adaptive. He learns quietly, absorbs deeply, and improves without telling anyone. Because people do not witness his process, they are often surprised by his capability. What unnerves others is not just what he knows, but how he knows it. He does not collect information to win arguments or impress the room. He gathers understanding as a survival skill, a strategic advantage, and a personal necessity. While others chase applause, he chases clarity. While some men study to appear intelligent, the Sigma studies to become unshakable. His intelligence evolves the way a tree grows, slowly, invisibly, and from the inside out. By the time anyone notices the change, the transformation is already complete. This quiet adaptability is what makes him so unpredictable. He does not move in patterns that people can track or categorize. One year he might be struggling, evaluating, learning, and recalibrating. The next year he emerges with a level of mastery no one knew he was building. His mind works in a layered way. First he observes, then he analyzes, then he adapts. Most people only operate in the first layer. They see, they react, and they copy. But the Sigma watches human behavior the way a strategist studies an evolving battlefield. He picks up on tone, intention, inconsistencies, hidden motives and micro-patterns. This allows him to pivot quickly, refine his approach, and avoid traps most men fall into repeatedly. His intelligence is also deeply introspective. He questions himself before he questions the world, correcting his blind spots, understanding his biases, and strengthening his weaknesses. Others wait for life to teach them lessons. The Sigma seeks those lessons on purpose. This self-directed growth creates a kind of psychological agility. He learns faster because he is not afraid to confront uncomfortable truths. What truly terrifies people is how silently effective he is. They expect intelligence to broadcast itself through loud opinions or visible ambition, but the Sigma does not advertise. His progress shows up suddenly, in his decisions, in his boundaries, in his emotional discipline, and in the way he removes himself from environments that no longer serve him. People cannot understand how he changed so quickly, because they never saw the hours of quiet learning behind the scenes. And that is the core of the Sigma's power. He grows without performing his growth. He evolves without needing an audience. He becomes more dangerous without ever becoming loud. Number 5, he thinks long-term, while others seek comfort. Many people make decisions based on whatever they feel in the moment: impulse, convenience, pressure, or the desire to avoid discomfort. Their choices are often shaped by emotion rather than intention, urgency rather than clarity. But the Sigma's intelligence works differently. His mind does not rush toward the nearest option simply because it is easy or immediately rewarding. Instead, he pauses, turning inward, consulting the quiet space within himself, where clarity is never rushed and wisdom is never forced. He is not guided by the temporary noise of emotion, but by the long arc of consequence. While others react to the present, he responds to the future. He studies patterns, observes the energy of situations, and considers how each choice will affect his long-term stability, growth, and peace. This internal strategy gives him an unusual strength, the ability to make decisions that protect his life rather than complicate it. To the outside world, this slow, logical decision-making can seem unpredictable, even mysterious. People expect quick answers, visible reactions, and obvious moves. But the Sigma is not performing for anyone. His deliberation is quiet, private, and deeply intentional. He is not avoiding action, he is refining it. And because he does not reveal his thought process, people can never quite predict what he will do next. They misunderstand stillness as uncertainty, when in truth it is precision. They misinterpret silence as hesitation, when in reality it is strategy. What looks like unpredictability is simply a man who refuses to be rushed by the world, a man who chooses direction over distraction, a man who builds his life through intelligence, not impulse. Number 6, he does not fear solitude, he uses it. Where others become anxious in silence, the Sigma becomes sharper. His intelligence deepens during moments of solitude, moments where reflection, analysis, and clarity rise naturally. This makes him mentally self-sufficient, a quality that is both rare and quietly intimidating. While most people feel a need to fill the quiet with noise, distraction, or reassurance, the Sigma leans into it. He understands that silence is not empty. It is information. It is a landscape where thoughts are not rushed, where emotions are not scattered, and where he can see the truth beneath the surface of things. In solitude, his mind organizes itself. Instead of spiraling or overthinking, he refines. Instead of seeking answers from others, he listens to the internal reasoning that most people avoid. This calm relationship with silence becomes one of his greatest strengths. It is during these quiet hours that he makes his best decisions, uncovers patterns others overlook, and strengthens the inner discipline that guides his life. Silence does not threaten him because he does not depend on external validation to feel grounded. He finds clarity without needing anyone to explain the world to him. His self-sufficiency becomes a form of psychological independence, one that other people can sense even if they cannot articulate it. And this, in turn, is what makes him intimidating. You cannot manipulate a man who thinks clearly in isolation. You cannot pressure a man who does not panic in stillness. You cannot control a mind that grows more powerful the moment the world becomes quiet. For the Sigma, silence is not an absence of life. It is the environment where his intelligence sharpens, his intuition strengthens, and his true self steps forward, calm, aware, and unshakably in control. The intelligence of the Sigma male is not meant to overpower others, nor is it something he uses as a weapon. It is simply the natural result of a man who has learned to see clearly, think independently, and move through life without the noise that distracts most people. His depth is not for show. His insight is not for applause. His understanding is not for status. It is for alignment. It is for peace. It is for living a life guided by quiet truth rather than external pressure. And in a world where everything pulls you outward, the Sigma male reminds us of the strength that comes from returning inward. His intelligence is terrifying only to those who rely on confusion, manipulation, or social chaos to maintain their power. But to those who value growth, authenticity, and clarity, his presence becomes a grounding force, steady, calm, and unmistakably real. So as you continue your own path, remember this: true intelligence does not demand attention, nor does it shout to be seen. It simply exists, quietly shaping your decisions and sharpening your awareness. And with time, it becomes the quiet engine that elevates your life. Move with intention, think with clarity, and trust the silent parts of your mind, because that is where your real power lives.